Good morning, YouTube. I just want to let you guys know that I am A-OK. I have survived. I'm just now realizing as I'm looking at my background light, though, that they're both... No, they're not both blue. One of them just doesn't look that pink. So hold on a second. Let me see if I can fix that. Yeah, that was that one. Let's get that a little bit brighter. Maybe it looks a little bit pinker. There you go. That looks a little bit more like the right scheme. I just wanted to check in with you guys. I haven't done a live stream in a couple of weeks now. We had a great, amazing Sync Connect session this last Saturday with Pat Finnegan of Flick Tracks. For those of you that were there, you know, I don't have to tell you. We ended up getting 4 members that got directly connected to Pat and Chris, who were the sort of decision makers at Flick Tracks. But above and beyond that, like the feedback that Pat gave, like this guy he basically came to this presentation 100% prepared. He had notes already listed, because what I do for those of you that submit your tracks to our CEOs, I actually send the tracks to them prior to the session because I want to give them a chance to basically preview it. If they have some helpful notes, I want them to have some really thoughtful stuff that they can give to us during the session. And Pat was obviously delivering that. Trevor did a great job as well too. I think that's one of the things that I don't probably highlight enough about that new service is for the few members that don't get accepted, which you've only had a few, but even for the ones that don't, the kind of helpful feedback that they're getting from these CEOs is something that we have never gotten in our industry before. And it's just because these CEOs don't have that kind of unlimited time where every submission they get, they can take the time to give them a thoughtful, 3 to 5 minute review of the track and let them know, hey, this is what was working, but this is where you kind of went wrong, or this is where it just doesn't seem like it fits right for us. And that's what I just actually had a comment from somebody in Sync Academy who said that they got a really amazing, huge, trailer company, I think a trailer house, checked out their tracks, listened to it, but then said, yeah, your music isn't right for us. And, this member was like, well, what can I do different? And should I ask them? Maybe they can give me some helpful notes and I can do better next time. And I said, definitely, it doesn't hurt to ever ask. But I said, this is the exact reason why we created Sync Connect. That situation right there. You sent your music off. And luckily for you, for this member, they got a response. I know some of you guys and some of us get ghosted. We don't even get a response, which is just unfortunate, but, I understand it. Again, limited time, that kind of a thing. Yele, what's up, buddy? Glad you're here, man. I know you're coming to LA at some point in the next month or so, so I really can't wait to meet you, man. And hopefully we can sit down and have a really cool chat, man. Rob, welcome. Paul, glad you guys are doing well. If you guys have any questions about anything, Sync Connect, Sync licensing, this is going to be kind of a cool informal hangout Q&A. I'll be happy to answer anything I possibly can. I just was in the mood. I know I put out a video this morning showing you guys that I'm getting back into making production music again, and it's exciting and frustrating, but I'm really, really excited for that. I want to just kind of relate myself back to the fact that it had been a couple of years since I'd really felt that pain. And Yella, you gave me a great comment this morning about how you feel that kind of office work grind after so many cues of doing the same thing over and over again. And so Yele has a great sort of approach of just networking as much as he can, collaborating, co-writing, and just mixing it up for himself as much as he possibly can so it doesn't start to feel so monotonous and stale. And that's a very wise and very smart thing for you to do, Yele, and for everybody to really take heed on that, because I hit that wall many, many times in my career. When I got to that 4th or 5th track in this current project, I hit it again, and it almost felt like just as hard as the one that I felt in 2016, which basically birthed this channel and birthed everything that we do with Sync My Music. So, Signature Music, what's going on? Welcome. So yeah, it's really, really important that we kind of take heed to the fact that even though this is a dream opportunity for us to do what we're doing, making music our full-time job, boy, it is not all roses and sunshine and puppies, right? It is, it's work, right? And it's sometimes it feels like we are in the trenches and we're kind of just digging and digging and digging and digging. And sometimes we're not hitting pay too often, especially creatively, let alone, royalties and finances and all that kind of stuff. So, right on. Paul, you had a great royalty. Awesome. Paul, mine went down a little bit, but it wasn't so far down that I was worried. Mine usually fluctuate a little bit here and there. So this one was more on the lower side for me, but still enough for me to feel excited to see it in my bank account. So I was really grateful for that. So I'm glad for you though, man. It's awesome that you had your best one in several quarters. So yeah, happy BMI royalties for those of you that got paid last week. And for those of you that haven't gotten one yet, hang in there, you'll get it. We actually had 1 or 2 members recently that just got their first. I know for one for sure, Melissa in Sync Academy, she just got her first BMI payment, which was awesome. And I heard it from another member. I can't remember who it was, but I always want to tell them, like, it might not be a lot. You know, I think even one of the members said, like, he couldn't even probably get drunk going to the bar on the money he made. But it's still, it's one of those things where it's like, I remember that too. You know, my first one was, I think, 14 cents or whatever it was. Yeah, it wasn't even really worth sending the letter out and sending the check out. But it's still one of these moments. It's such a big deal for you guys to get that first check, because it's just showing you that you actually got something that's working, right? Whatever you've been doing, whatever music you've been creating, sending it off to whatever companies, whatever way you're doing it, it is finding its way through the system and eventually coming back to you full circle and paying you. So it's not going to be tons in the beginning, but it can be so motivating just to see that it worked. That basically all these little points of connection between you and the library and the client and the PRO and you coming all the way back. Your creativity made it through that entire maze and wound back, you know, putting some income into your account. Of course, the beginning, most of the time, it's not as impressive and as exciting as we want it to be, but the fact that it does come through, I want to always just give you guys tons and tons of praise and appreciation, and just say, please go celebrate this yourself in some meaningful way. Like, make a big, I don't know, mark in your life that this is definitely a milestone in your sync licensing career. It's not paying your bills yet, probably, but neither were mine, right? In the very beginning, mine were so underwhelming, so small, not that exciting. But in due time, it basically starts to pile up to the point where it can start to do that for you. So you have to celebrate your little wins. It's one of my big mottos on my channel, what I do here. Yele saying when he started with the Dutch PRO, he owed them money since you have to pay an annual fee with them. So even worse than my situation, Yele, that back when I joined BMI, we didn't have any. I think they charge now $50 or something like that. Also something that Trevor's here. Trevor, our first Sync Connect CEO. For those of you that were with Trevor's session, you also know the value of that, which was really cool. Mixed Club, welcome. Something I just learned from Pat is that we have some interesting changes in the royalty amounts coming from ASCAP. They've really been lowered. Now, this is something that I wasn't privy to, because I've been a BMI member since 2012, 2013, and I've been recommending BMI for all of you guys for a long time. According to a CEO of a library who's doing really well, he's seeing huge discrepancies in terms of how much ASCAP is paying out for instrumental royalties placements versus what BMI is doing. So that was kind of an eye-opener for me, and this is what we're learning, obviously, through Sync Connect. So for those of you that are with ASCAP, I'm just going to say it again. BMI does not pay me to say this. I'm not an affiliate of them. I am a member of theirs. I do earn my royalties through them, so that's my disclosure. But I just recommend them because I've been hearing, I heard that a long time ago from a few people that could show me proof between co-writers, one with ASCAP, one with BMI, and showing me how much of a difference that they were making. But this is yet another sort of reporting I'm hearing from the front lines of this industry, that there is definitely some, I don't know, some stuff is falling off the cliff with ASCAP right now in terms of how much they're paying out. And obviously with both PROs, there's not much transparency in terms of why certain royalties are falling and that kind of stuff. So I would say, I don't know, switch, just switch. I'm just telling you all, you guys, I really do think that BMI made this move, I don't know if it was 2020, 2021, where they basically went into a for-profit model. They went out of the nonprofit, it became for-profit, and then they hired Goldman Sachs to become their, I guess, sort of consultant on how to make more money. Some people thought that was like a bad move or something, and I saw it as like, well, if I'm a BMI member, I want them to make as much money as they possibly can, because that means that I'll probably make as much money as possible, right? So I saw it as a really positive thing, and I think we're kind of seeing some of that play out right now, where they basically started making more aggressive moves to become for profit, to basically get more aggressive on how they were generating more revenue for their members, for themselves. So I tend to want to be part of people that are highly motivated to make as much money for themselves as they possibly can, especially if my stock goes up, if I'm associated with them. So ASCAP is just in a different scenario where they're nonprofit. They don't have those kind of considerations. They're obviously keeping themselves in business. You know, they're taking their enough money to keep themselves in business. But it makes you wonder which one of these business models is going to be working out in the long run for all of us if the sort of quote unquote greed factor isn't there with the business model. So just for what it is, I think BMI is the best for us, for those of us that are doing primarily production music. I think that's just the way we should go. Seamus, welcome. Who else is coming? Oh, Trevor's throwing some shade. I won't even read out his comment. You guys can see what he says. Paul's saying lots of ASCAP people switching to BMI. Yep. Int Groove Music. Hey, what's going on? Sean, let's see. Yeah, Yele's talking about their website for sure, Yele. Yeah, they have some work to do on the membership portal side. There's definitely some things that ASCAP surprisingly does better, like the cue sheets and just the user interface. I think on ASCAP, they just made it much more user-friendly for its members. So yeah, BMI can definitely improve there for sure. All right, Preston, welcome. You're brand new to the Sync world. You've been watching several of the videos. You have several tracks in your mobile GarageBand app. Can I take it to the next level from that? Yes, GarageBand is probably, I would say that's probably a level below you want to. It's not a bad DAW in terms of it can obviously help you get started, but I think if you really want to take your music to that next level, you want to at least go to probably Logic, especially it sounds like you're an Apple person. I would look into just getting into Logic. It's very similar to GarageBand. GarageBand is like Logic Lite, if you want to call it that way. It's pretty much a very stripped down version of Logic. And it's very powerful, great things you can do, but I think you probably want to get into a proper DAW on a desktop computer. Using an app to create production music, you're just going to be kind of limited in what you can do. And you're probably going to be relying mostly on loops, and I don't think that using loops is really a move that we can rely on at all anymore. I think in previous years you could probably do a lot more with loops, but these days where people are getting in trouble, not because they're legally not allowed to use loops, but because multiple producers and artists are using the same loops from a website like Splice, like melodic loops. It probably will happen with Logic loops, GarageBand loops as well, where people are claiming, hey, you used my track, and it's like, well, no, I use the same. We both use the same royalty-free loop, and so you're creating these like unnecessary, frivolous lawsuits and legal clashes that nobody wants to be a part of. You want to just focus on music. So I'm really glad that you found my channel, glad that you're into Sync. I would highly recommend you at least get into Logic Pro. There's also Ableton, you can do Pro Tools, you can do Fruity Loops. There's tons of DAWs and Studio One, plenty more new ones that are coming up all the time. But I'm a Logic guy, I'm an Apple person, so I do recommend them. I think it's pretty easy. I think Logic is still $200, and literally you don't have to spend any more money on any additional plugins or sounds or synths. I think the stuff that comes with Logic these days is top quality. I think as long as you learn how to use it properly, not overuse it, of course, but just use it properly. And there's tons of tutorials, free tutorials on YouTube. I'm not somebody that teaches how to use Logic. We don't do that with our communities. We're usually more for the producers that kind of already have a fundamental understanding of how to use a DAW or have a home studio setup of some sort. And they're just learning and trying to figure out how do they sort of steer their music into a place that can be, placed in TV shows, movies, and commercials. So if you need that beginner level, then there's tons of great, YouTube channels. Maybe some of you guys are following something. You can put them in the chat for Preston here. All right. Let's see. Yeah, and Trevor's saying that you can definitely, if you got Logic, you can open up your GarageBand sessions in there and then take them to the next level. So I didn't even actually know that you could switch your GarageBand sessions right into Logic, but makes sense, same company, right? So it might be a real easy transition for you to move up into that next level for sure. Isomatic, what's up? I had 2 libraries reach out to me after the Sync Up Virtual Plus event. Thank you for the opportunity. Wow, that's awesome. Really, really cool. We've had so many success stories from Sync Up, and it's like, it took a while for them to kind of come in. The first couple of weeks, we were obviously waiting, maybe about a month. We were giving the CEO some time to kind of go through. There's a lot of submissions, and we are, by the way, sorry to pop the bubble, but next year, we're capping that, guys. So, I originally, when we were going to do Sync Up, I originally wanted to have a rule where I said, the members and the virtual attendees that got one of those tickets that allowed them to submit, I was going to say, you have to select one CEO, period. Like, we're not going to do multiple submissions. When we got to the event, a lot of the CEOs were saying, oh, just send me 3 or 4 tracks. I don't need a full album. I just want to see what you do. And so we kind of morphed that requirement into sort of, okay, well, just don't send the same 3 or 4 tracks to all the different library CEOs. But if you've got like 3 hip hop or 3 rock ones, or maybe you got 6 hip hop, you want to send 3 to Trevor, 3 to Perry, or whatever you're going to do. Okay. But what happened is we ended up getting way too many submissions, and so I feel a little bit bad for all of the CEOs. I felt like I gave them like a homework assignment with with their submissions. The list on their Google sheet just started to go and go and go. So next year there's going to be limits. So for those of you that just joined our first time, you got sort of like free reigns. You got to submit a lot more music than we're going to be letting you submit next time. So I just want to let you guys know that's going to change that next time, because I really don't want them to feel like, oh God, here comes Sync Up. It's going to be so much work. It's going to be so much music I have to listen to. none of them gave me that grief. I don't, but I definitely can feel when enough is enough, right? Like I can tell how much music is too much. So we might go back to that, just select one CEO, or we're going to figure out a way to kind of limit that. There might be a time limit for submissions. Only the first couple of members that buy their tickets will get to submit. I don't know what we're going to do, but I just want to let you guys know we are going to change that a bit, because I want this to continue on every single year, and I don't want us to feel like we're burning out our CEOs and they don't want to be a part of this. It's going to be work, of course. We are paying them to be a part of this, so we're definitely going to make them work a little bit, but we don't want it to be so unmanageable, because anyways, that's all I'm going to say about it. We're going to change it for our future events. So okay, and Linda's got a recommendation for helping you with Logic Pro. He says Music Tech Help Guy is a YouTuber. That sounds familiar. I think I've probably seen their videos here and there. So Music Tech Help Guy. That's a good one if you want to learn about how to use Logic, Preston. So all right. I think Zaya, if that's how you pronounce your name, you joined late. So for any artist or rapper like myself, do you recommend BMI over ASCAP? Still new to this, and I want my best options for myself. So I recommend, same with Trevor, as he's saying, I think BMI is the way to go. I'm not necessarily sure in terms of if you're doing things outside of sync licensing, right? So I don't have all of that knowledge. So if you're doing streaming and you're touring and you're kind of going more the traditional artist route, whatever the traditional route is these days, but you're trying to build a direct relationship with the public, with your music, ASCAP might have some better features and services. They certainly are better, I think, at the networking features, right? They have the better events. They definitely have the annual, I Create Music Expo. I think that's what it is. So I think they're better in terms of like schmoozing, right? And getting you to kind of connect with other people, other artists, publishers, that kind of a thing. BMI, I think, is much more business, and they probably can improve upon that by having more events. I think that'd be really, really great for them. I actually don't even know if BMI has events. If any of you guys know if they have events, let me know, because I'd love to go to one. But I think ASCAP is better for some of those kind of networking opportunities, but BMI is much more for those of us that are like, hey, I want to get paid. I want to get paid the most amount of money possible, and I'm primarily focusing on TV and film sync licensing and streaming services. That's where I'd say definitely BMI. I think that's just without a doubt where you want to go. Groove is asking, when will sync up happen again? So we're going to do it again probably next June. We did it this last June 3rd and 4th, I think it was. So we'll probably do it again around then. Maybe we'll switch it around. If we can kind of, I want to make it as like user friendly and as convenient for you guys as possible. I know that we have NAMM that's around the springtime. There might be some other big things happening. So if I can maybe dovetail it to kind of coincide with maybe another big event happening, so that those of you that are interested in coming to other things in LA, maybe you can kind of dovetail it all in one weekend. I don't know if that's too much for you guys to do or not, but I liked what we did. I mean, it was basically a Saturday, Sunday. It was literally it was so close to LAX that some of the members walked there with their luggage. It was that close. Clean, professional. The hotel staff were great. I had no complaints at all. It was expensive. It was not cheap to host it there, but I think for the service we got, for the convenience of it, we're going to just do it there again. There's no reason to shake it up and try things differently. That's what we're going to do. But the other thing we're going to start working on, and I'm actually speaking with Mike about this right now, and Trevor, I'll definitely be talking to you about it. We got to figure out a way to get you involved. And by the way, Trevor has a writing session coming up, which I don't know if I should talk about that, Trevor. I don't know if that's publicly available or maybe not, but he's, through his company, Get It Done Music, putting together a writer camp right now, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. So that'll be really cool. But I don't want us to have to wait until June to get us together into a room together in person. So right now I'm speaking with Mike Giannotto about putting together some, I don't know if you want to call it, they're not like writer camps. Basically, it would be kind of like in-person mentorship coaching sessions where a small number of you, probably 5, it's going to be a small number, would come in person. Either you could drive there if you live close or fly into LA if you want to. Probably going to be in the North Hollywood, Burbank area. But we would come in on a full day and we would basically have you bring in your session and we would give you in-depth, detailed feedback on your track. We would open up your session. We would help you with some production notes, some thoughts on how to improve your sounds, your structure, all that kind of stuff with you in person. And then we'd finish up with some mixing and mastering notes to ensure that your track is just as on par as it possibly can. And we would do this in just a world-class, high-quality studio that we would rent for the day. We'd have some lunch together, hang out, just, you know, be able to just kind of talk shop a little bit. So we're working on doing something like that. I think in October, we can hopefully put something like that together. So I don't have anything to announce on that of what we're going to be doing, but definitely we're going to put together I want to put some in-person events throughout the year. So maybe like once a quarter, we figure out a way to do that. It's not going to be something that a lot of people can participate with, just to be honest with you guys. It's not going to be cheap to be able to rent out these really high quality studios and that kind of thing. So it's not going to be cheap for you guys to attend. So I'm just also letting you guys know that's just going to be the reality of it. But for sure, we're going to come back next year and we'll try to get as many people, not as many people, I should say. We are going to still cap it at about 50, 60 in-person tickets like we did last year. That was the general feedback I got from those of you guys that came. You said, I loved the small numbers, that it didn't feel like we were swimming in a sea of people. It felt very intimate. It felt like a really cool, I don't know, just a really great space for those of us to connect with each other. You know, I'm really realizing right now, which sucks about YouTube, and I loved about Instagram, but I don't want to get into Instagram, is I wish I could just like pull Yele and Trevor into this live video right now. It'd be so cool if we could click a button and you guys go live on your videos and join me and we could start talking. It's like, why doesn't that exist on YouTube? I do not understand that, because that would be such a cool feature. Instagram has that, but the reason, honestly guys, the reason why I don't do a lot of Instagram stuff with my account is every time I go into Instagram, I am so overwhelmed with all the distraction and the noise and feeling like I can't get out of it that I don't even want to go down that route. Same thing with TikTok. I've never even tried TikTok. I don't even want to be close to that. I don't even like YouTube Shorts. I don't like the content that's so engaging and so attractive and so interesting that it just starts wasting minutes and minutes and minutes of my day. So I basically just stay away from that stuff as much as I can, but nothing you can really do about it. Let's see. Jack, I have a career producing EDM like drum and bass, house infused with orchestral drops. Is there a market niche for music like that, or should I go with orchestral high energy hip hop? Definitely. No, if you can combine two different genres, especially like that, EDM and orchestral, cream of the crop, man. You're in a really, really, really good spot, Jack. Especially if you throw some vocals on top of that. So if you got a great female vocalist or a male vocalist, and it's like high quality, energetic EDM music with some huge orchestral music on top, well, then you're talking about, it can be sports, it can be trailer, it can be reality, it can be commercial. You can have so many different places for that interesting, unique combination to exist in. So that could be basically your niche, and it could become your brand. Like you become the EDM orchestral producer. So very, very high quality. You could also do the high energy hip hop, but to be honest with you, hip hop is so saturated, it's so used, it's you know, so many libraries have so much hip hop already. It's kind of hard to stand out with that these days, especially like with orchestral hip hop. It's kind of one of the most used hybrid styles out there. So, but the EDM stuff is not something you hear a lot of. So I think you could carve out a better niche for yourself that way. Yeah, and Trevor's saying that if you want to learn more about it, he's got some stuff on his Instagram, which I think is it Get It Done Music, Trevor? Maybe you can kind of give us your Instagram there and people can go check it out. So yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm hopefully going to be able to get down there, hang out with some of the producers, some of the writers, maybe some vocalists too. Zeljakar, if you already self-publish pop dance song, for example, can you also send it to libraries to be used? It depends on the library that you're submitting to, Zelja. So if you're sending to an exclusive library, you need to, when you're sending your music to them, you need to let them know this track or these tracks, whatever it is you're sending to them, already are publicly available, and here's where they are. I'd say you have a good chance of most exclusive libraries these days going, nah, that's cool. Like, as long as it's over there, but we get exclusive, this is the library talking to you. We would get exclusive access and exclusive rights to shop your music for sync and TV film opportunities. If they love your music, they'll probably be okay with that. Some exclusive libraries will say, you know what, we're sort of all or nothing. You either keep your music with us to exclusively distribute it. We don't want anybody else because we're going to keep all of our music behind a private sort of lock and key membership area. And that means you have to take it down off of all your streaming sites and your socials. So then you have to decide, is that worth it for you if you want to do that? The other option for you is to maybe go with a sync agent. A sync agent is primarily a better fit for those of you that are primarily artists. Like you're trying to just put out music, again, for the general public. You're building a fan base. You want to tour. Maybe you want to, I don't know, you build have a record deal, or you want to basically do something in terms of just connecting with the general population and build up your own fan base. I would think you probably want to go with a sync agent. Production music libraries are not usually the best fit for those kinds of artists, for the type of deals and the structures that we have to deal with, and also the timeline and waiting for royalties and all that kind of stuff. So I would say you probably want to go check out sync agents. I do think that Sync Summit, which is with Mark Freezer, is probably where you want to go if you want to learn about sync agents. He is the guy when it comes down to learning who are sync agents, how do they operate, what do their business structures look like, how do you connect with these people. He has virtual events. I don't know if he's doing any more in-person. I think he might have retired his in-person stuff, but he definitely still has tons of virtual events that he does all the time. So you might want to look more at a sync agent. I don't know if production libraries are your best fit, if that's what your priorities are. And Trevor's giving some great advice there, saying, just do what you guys do best, okay? There's a home for all of it, all over in TV and film, exactly. So if there's something that, I'm glad that you pointed it out, Trevor, because even if you do orchestral hip-hop, which is sort of oversaturated, there's still because something that you're doing that's just a far and above and better than what everybody else is doing. And if that's the case, you certainly do have an option for yourself there, and you could certainly still carve out a niche for yourself. So I guess my thoughts are more in terms of, you want to kind of go where there's still a lot of demand, but there's not too much saturation. So unless you have something that's just, oh my gosh, unbelievable, you do want to probably just find some of these places. I call them the golden zones of opportunity, where there's demand for them. People need them. A lot of times, this is what we were learning with Trevor's session when we were doing his Sync Connect session 2 weeks ago, is he was pointing out some very new, fresh, hip styles of music, pop music, hip hop music, subgenres of these things that nobody's doing, nobody's thinking about, nobody's putting together, but how you can easily stand out from the crowd and be basically sort of driving the trends here in our industry, because we basically, in many ways, follow what's happening in the pop music world and the streaming world, all that kind of stuff. So if you can be one of the first ones to kind of get on board with a new sound or a new style and add your own creative flair to it, then you'll definitely be in a much stronger position, because that's kind of how this industry essentially works. There are the timeless elements, right? Piano, strings, I don't know, some drum elements, guitar. There are some timeless instruments that basically, no matter from when I started in 2008 and before, you probably still heard them. You're still going to hear them now. But there's also this other world of just like, well, right now, this type of music is really hot and people are going all crazy for it. So you can really capitalize on that. It might not last forever, multiple years, but at least for a year or two, you can capitalize on these kind of trends that happen. So I think look for those opportunities as well. Let's see. Where are we at? Do what you do best. Laura's asking, can you and Michael Laszlo from Taxi work together for one event? Probably not likely. That's probably all I can say about that. We probably won't likely work together on an event, but I appreciate the suggestion though. Yele is saying, dancing composers on TikTok could be a hit though. Just saying, absolutely. TikTok, and there's a lot of, that's what was crazy, and that's what you guys are going to learn about. Let's see what our next Sync Connect is with another great CEO. Let me just get my thing up. I'm going to show you guys. So we've got Audio Socket. Okay, so Jen Anderson Miller is the CEO of Audio Socket. She is going to be supplying us with 3 of their decision makers from Audio Socket. Now, Jen, what I learned from her, and we actually had a conversation here on my channel for those of you guys that didn't catch it, Jen is really dipping into the TikTok world. She's starting to see that there's a lot of opportunity there. There's a lot of great things that they can actually, a lot of possibilities for us to be able to monetize our music with a lot of these social media networks. That's obviously been the case for a while, but there's some that are blowing up more than others. And so that's really what we're going to learn in that. Oh, that's why I was going to get the date. September 9th. So a couple of Saturdays from now, we're going to get them on. I'm really going to ask them about how does that work? What kind of income are we looking at? What are those royalties or sync fees looking like? So I'm really excited to learn more about that world, because in my career, I was really more just a TV guy. I wanted TV royalties, TV placements, and the social media came in and there was just, hundreds of dollars there, but it wasn't like a huge opportunity. But you guys, I don't know if you guys have seen, but recently streaming services have overcome cable subscriptions. I don't know if that happened like in the last month or two. So that's a big milestone. That means that we are obviously moving towards more of a streaming and social media kind of world, and the TV side of things are not going to be as relevant as they used to be. So just like with everything else I coach you guys, we need to make sure that we are moving more in that direction of where things actually are. So that's a really, really cool opportunity for us to learn about, and we'll learn about that in a couple of weeks. So let's see. Okay, Boost the Kid. What do you think about libraries now putting in a clause to not use AI in your tracks? That's interesting. And what could this mean for the future work with AI? This is happening in my most recent album agreement. Interesting. So I don't know. And are they specifically saying what kinds of AI technology you cannot use? You know, like, are they saying you couldn't use, let's say, isotope ozone, where they have an AI assistant helping you master your tracks? I don't think they care so much if you're using that, right? Maybe they're talking more about, having AI created, melodies or loops or drums or something like that. So that's kind of interesting. That could be something that certainly impacts us. I don't know if I have like a cohesive opinion or a thought on that yet. I haven't actually heard of that happening. I think you're the first person I've heard saying that that's in their sessions. But email me, jesse@syncmymusic.com. Let me know if you're comfortable sharing me the actual specific language they put in there. I'd love to know what they're saying. It'll kind of help me understand what they're prohibiting. And I don't know, maybe that's something that I should do some future videos on, because that could certainly be something we need to keep our eyes on. But I definitely know some library owners, including some that are probably watching this video stream, are no longer allowing their producers and their members to use any loops, like at all. They are basically loop-free companies. So that's definitely going to be something that we need to keep in mind, that could be a reality that we start facing with a lot of these libraries, that they're saying loops are not worth it, AI technology is not worth it for the potential legal risks. We need to stay out completely away from it. So, that could certainly impact us in many ways. Do I still think there's room for instrumentals? Absolutely. Right now, like I said, nobody's using, like ABC News isn't using, Music LM to create their cues, right? Nobody's using this stuff yet. So, will they in the future? That's the big, I don't know. So right now, nothing has really changed in terms of, having to completely abandon instrumentals. But I do think that you need to, even if you are focused on instrumentals, and you have been, you need to start just 25% of the time getting vocals on your tracks, right? It doesn't have to be 100% of what you do, but you do need to start opening up your eyes and opening up your networking to the fact that you need to start creating something that's a little bit more relevant to what the industry is looking for right now. So I do think that you don't want to have 100% of your catalog being instrumental anymore. You want at least 25% of it being vocal. But yeah, go turn on TV, streaming services. You'll hear plenty of instrumental cues. They're still being used, of course. It's not like everything is using vocals, but we're just starting to see, obviously, where the trend is going, where vocal music is getting more and more play, more and more attention. So you want to basically, you kind of want to always go with where the energy is in your current industry. And so vocals are definitely where the industry is turning into right now. So. They said generative AI. Yeah, I'm thinking that's what they mean, is generative music. So clicking a button or typing in a prompt and putting music into your tracks. I can see why they wouldn't want to do that, because, again, I put a video out about that, about the legal risk that these AI models can infringe upon their own training data. And then that means that you're creating copyright infringible music, and then that's opening up legal jeopardies for your clients and for yourself and for the TV companies that use your music. So it's like, yeah, probably better just to steer clear of that. I think what we'll have is new companies and new ways of generating AI music that's much safer, and we'll probably figure out how we do that in the near future. But for now, if it's just one of these like a Google or a Meta, where they basically just scraped, they paid, well, I should say Meta for sure paid. I don't know exactly Google's situation, but Meta definitely paid to use the Shutterstock and I think it was the Audio Jungle, or Pond 5 music rather, and they had their own internal library of some sort that they legally cleared. So they're cleared to do what they're doing, but still there can be issues in terms of copyright infringement where it's sounding just like something else, and then that songwriter is not happy about it. And so there could be some problems, obviously, with all this. So we need to get it all sorted out. Josh, is there a way you could explain the difference between setting up song splits for a distributor versus the PRO? Seemed like 100% is a total with distro and 200 total with a PRO. So yeah, I think you pretty much have it there. I don't know. Yeah, see, distribution in terms of like, like using DistroKid or using TuneCore or that kind of thing. I did that such a long time ago. I don't really remember how any of that's set up. Maybe some of you guys in the chat can actually help us clear that up. But for sure, PROs, it is a 200% total where 100%, I mean, it's so confusing. I know it's ridiculous, but 100% goes to the writer. The other 100% goes to your publisher. Usually is going to be your music library. So, and I don't know. I know there's obviously with every song, there's going to be your sound copy, your copyright, and then there's going to be your publishing, right? So you're going to have the actual rights to the master recording, and then you're also going to have rights as the creator, the publisher, and the songwriter of that track. So there's still going to be splits in any type of music distribution model that you have, but I don't know if I could give you a cohesive, educated answer on that. Yeah, we definitely talked about BMI, Doug. I saw major publishers not liking the fact that they are for profit. Do you think BMI is paying less then? I don't know. They're paying a lot more than ASCAP. That's the word on the street. So are they paying less than they should? That's one of these questions we will never get the answer to because it's still not transparent on either side for any PRO. But that's interesting that major publishers are not liking that they are for profit. Can you send me some info on that? That would be a little bit shocking to me. I would think that they would be. I don't know. I felt that was a positive thing, but I'm open to being wrong about that. All right. Maxime, hey, I'm dropping by to say I'll be subscribing to your Sync music sessions. Awesome. I think you meant my Sync Connect sessions. I'm glad to have you there. We still have a few spots left for that discounted rate. Not many, I think like 20 or less. So not many are left there. So definitely get on there before you before it's too late. It's just syncmymusic.com/connect if you want to go check out what we're doing, who our next CEOs are, all that good stuff. So. Yele is saying that it believes a judge in the U.S. just said that AI-generated materials can't be copyrighted since that law is currently reserved for humans. Yeah, I saw that too, Yele. I think that was also for Midjourney, wasn't it, for visual art? So I wonder how much of that is going to be, covering us in the creative music world. I'm not sure if that can be something that can be bled into our world. There's going to be tons of that stuff, though. I think we're kind of now in that sort of Wild West phase where we don't know how the courts are going to land on this stuff. So we need to kind of see where they sort of land on, particularly the music side of things. So. Question, do you think there is an interest for epic trailer tracks from your guests? Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely going to be. We had even just our last Pat from Audio Socket. So we actually he said that there's basically a certain way that you can create trailer tracks for his catalog, but it's not how you're going to basically put it together a traditional trailer track, like major, huge, hip, massive buildups and huge sounds. He's not a trailer company, but he basically was explaining to us how he uses tracks that are sort of following a bit of that kind of larger than life production approach to really secure and do some great stuff with his clients and his guests. So you can definitely learn that with our guests as well. And yes, we definitely have, Troy, let's see, Troy's coming up. I think he's going to be a few months from now in December. Troy McCubbin from Alloy Tracks. So Troy has secured trailers for Oppenheimer, for the Batman, the one that just came out a few years ago. And he's done some other huge stuff as well. I probably can't list all the things he's done. So he's definitely a trailer guy. So you're definitely going to get some guests that are really well plugged into that trailer world and can give us some really helpful thoughts and notes on how to basically stand out and best serve them by serving their clients, right? Spike, good to see you too. Glad you joined us. Justin, do you notice that trailer libraries are going on a temporary hiatus with a strike happening? I don't know for sure. I would imagine they would have to be readjusting, right? Because most trailers, not all of them, but most trailers are going to go for scripted, content with actors. But, video games, right? Video games are still coming out and they still use trailer music. They still need a lot of that kind of stuff. There still could also be sports events and sporting promos that could use trailer music. So there's going to be other places for them to probably steer their content and what they're doing. But for sure, yeah, the big major Hollywood blockbuster things that maybe they used to do, it's going to slow down. But you also remember that a lot of content has been shot already and it's just now in post-production. So all that stuff can still move forward. Okay. okay, if it's already been shot, it's already been done, there's probably 6 to 12 months of content that's still going to be coming out, right? So as they're working through this, the strike and trying to resolve it, there's still going to be new movies coming out, new shows coming out. There's a big backlog with all these companies. It's not like they just shoot this week and release it next week. It takes months, sometimes years, for stuff to finally go through the pipeline and get produced. So there still will be some opportunities, but for sure, we were actually talking about that with Pat in our Sync Connect session the other day, that even though they do a lot of reality TV stuff, some of their stuff for sure is going to get impacted by that. So they're making sure that they are very mindful and thoughtful about where they start steering their stuff. And he was talking about just how the conversations you have to have now with all your TV clients and film clients, it's very delicate, because you want to make sure that you're saying the right things and you're not looking like you're siding one way or another, and that kind of thing. So it's not the way that his exact words were, this is not good for our industry, but we will survive it. We'll get through it. But it would be better if this would get resolved sooner than later. We would all want this to get resolved so we can move forward. So that's what he was thinking about it. But everybody, I think no matter who you are, what library you're with, you definitely are paying attention to this. You are certainly going to be clued in and plugged into these kind of conversations with your clients, with people that you're serving your music with. And if you're going to stay in business, you're going to obviously have to adjust, just like we are going to have to adjust with the AI stuff, with these writer strikes. So the smart people are certainly just empowering themselves, figuring out how they can do something about it, or just change how they sort of approach their business, basically, in spite of all this. So Spike, you found my course in the pandemic, and 4 years later, you're about to launch your sync company. So thank you. Wow, man, that's really cool. Just an example of the good your academy does in the world. Really cool, Spike. Glad to hear that, man. The pandemic feels like like decades ago to me, and that's so cool that you've come that far actually in just a couple of years. So keep it up. It's your hard work that's putting you there, man. So that's great. Estevan, what's up? Good to see you live. Yeah, is SyncEdge still up? Absolutely. SyncEdge has been running this entire time. Are you recommending any libraries needing minimal tension at the moment? Yeah, so for those of you guys that don't know, every single month in SyncEdge, that's where I have my music library recommendations. So it's basically where I open up their website, I go through their catalog, I show you their clients, I show you their who they're working with, and I kind of play through some of their tracks, and I basically give you a specific genre of music that I feel would really serve them well and stand out and not get lost in just a sea of a bunch of tracks. So we do have minimal tension recommendations in SyncEdge. How it works is every single month we put out 2 new library recommendations, and I do try to my best vary it up, so it's not just always trailer, or it's not just always EDM or pop or rock. So throughout the year and we have basically, I think now 3 years of recommendations. After we hit 3 years, I drop off the previous year, because I don't want old, outdated recommendations to still be sitting there on the website. And it's like you go to those websites and the website looks different, the catalog might be different. So I want to make sure this stuff is fairly recent and mostly relevant as possible. Okay, so we definitely have those recommendations though in SyncEdge, and we'll probably have more obviously as time goes on. Doug is saying that on the Universal Instagram page, it seemed like whatever is going down, they will support songwriters. Yeah. So yeah, that's not surprising. They'll definitely just support people who are, supplying them with their sort of IP, right? All right. Yele, safe travels. He's heading off to Germany for Gamescom. Really cool. Right on, man. Hopefully you can take some pictures or some videos. That'd be really cool to see how you guys are doing out there. And that's a good cue for me to probably bow out too. I got some things I got to take care of here at the office. I'll take one more question here from Paul, and then I'll hop off here. Thank you guys for hanging out. We got 30 of you guys hanging out with us. That's a really, really cool number. I'm glad to hear that. And excited to be with you guys. All right, Paul, I'm with 2 libraries, having trouble deciding where to focus without placements yet. One's distributed by Warner, but publishes slow. Others with a small publisher, but moves faster. What do you think? Both have very personal touches and are receptive to my music. Keep going with both, man. No reason to stop or anything like that. So if you can, I mean, if you're finding that working with 2 companies is too hard, like you're not able to keep up with both of their, their briefs, or you don't feel like you're supplying them equally, then that's a tricky one, because one of them's moving faster. My inclination is usually to go with a smaller company that's giving you faster results, because usually that'll mean that you're going to be getting your placements faster, your royalties faster. Everything will start to come in, because even though you might be working with, Warner, a big one, you're kind of a small fish in a big pond there, and things can really slow down. You're also competing with a lot more tracks for placements. So even though you're in a bigger, pool, doesn't necessarily mean you have better opportunities for yourself. Sometimes less is more. Going to a smaller publisher, a smaller organization that has still really strong clients and really strong relationships. That's where my career was really sort of based on that kind of a thing, of going with people who have direct relationships, not major, huge, massive companies, but still with solid reputations and with solid connections in the TV and film world. So that's just where my bias would take me. But if you can do anything to keep both of them happy, I would do that, because then you can really A/B compare, right? Stick with it, give it about a year, see what happens within that year. Do you finally start seeing some big placements with the Warner company, even if it's like, it's slow, it takes forever, but they're just so big that you're like, wow, that was worth the wait? Or maybe with the other one, you start to see that, like, even though they're moving fast, nothing's coming through, right? You're getting no placements, even though everything registers and gets distributed so quickly, nothing's happening, but the Warner people are really getting you the placements. You don't really have that knowledge yet. So for you to kind of kick the can on one of them right now, or just pull the plug on one of them, it's so premature. You don't really know if you're making the right move or the wrong move right now. So just pace yourself, try to keep doing that. And I think you'll be in a better position in about a year or so when you can get some better feedback on that. So glad to help, man. And glad to help all of you guys. I hope that this was helpful for all of you. So if you're not subscribed, I think all of you guys probably are. That's probably how you found me. Make sure you do click that subscribe button so that you can get my notifications. And I would love if you left me just a little like right now. If you haven't done that, that'd be really, really cool before we sign off here. And other than that, hang tight. We got some really cool content coming to you guys. I'm going to release some, not all, some of those series, some of the AI Proofing Your Music series that we just released in Sync Academy. I want to give probably the first 3 or 4 of them out here on my YouTube channel free, because I think they're so important. So because I'm going to be steering so much of my advice and what I'm thinking about in terms of how we survive this new revolution. These tutorials really are the sort of guiding North Star in terms of how we should be thinking of ourselves and where we should go with our sync licensing career. So stay tuned. We got some really cool stuff coming your way in the next couple of weeks. And that's it. I never know how to stop my videos. I never have a great smooth ending to these things. So I'm just going to say bye. You guys have a great day.